Hi guys, welcome back to another ESO The Basics video. This one we're going to be talking about settings. I'm not going to go over all the settings and all the individual things, but some that are more tied directly to ESO and quality of life that you may not know exist and may want to use. So in your settings, I'm not going to go over all of these or anything. I'm just going to go over pretty much settings and controls. So display is pretty straightforward. You know, it's going to be which display mode you want to use, which active display, your resolution, et cetera, et cetera. So there's not really much to go over there. Audio, same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump more into gameplay, camera, interface, nameplate, social, etc. So I'm going to start off in gameplay, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but combat is where ESO kind of plays some proprietary stuff compared to other MMOs that you might not know about. One of them is going to be the combat cues, and basically what these are visual effects for special attacks that are area based or dot based, anything like that, where you may need some form of cue to move, or that you have an effect on you that you need to do a specific thing to dispel. So what you will see typically on these are there's friendly and there's enemy ones. Friendly, there's effects that may create a ground effect or anything like that you want to be within range of, and those will pop up in a specific area, and they'll look like this. Same thing with enemy. If you get a AoE at the bottom on the ground on you, it'll pop up and kind of look like this. It might be a circle. Might be multiple circles. It might be a cone that comes from a specific area because it's a coned effect or anything like that. And typically you want to move away from those if you can. With these, you can change these to whatever color you want. So if you want good to be, you know, one specific color, you want bad to be another specific color, you can change those. And one thing that I do that I recommend is you can change the brightness of these. So if you bring it down really low, you know, it looks a lot less bright than when you have it maxed out. I personally recommend to have it maxed out because when you're in, say, a trial or PvP or anything like that, where there's multiple particle effects on the ground as part of the fight, these can kind of get lost at times. So you want to have these as bright as possible so that you don't miss a cue and you don't end up killing yourself or multiple people in the group because you didn't see it. So that is combat cues. Double tap to dodge. This is more for movement key as opposed to a specific key to roll dodge. I have this on. I probably shouldn't with the way that I play because I tend to accidentally roll dodge a lot. But what this basically does is it allows you to double tap in any direction and you'll roll in that specific direction. Like so. You can turn that off and you can have a specific keybind to allow you to roll dodge instead. But I'm kind of dumb and I have mine on when I probably shouldn't. This one is important. Quick cast ground abilities. There's a reason that I'm on my Warden Healer because I want to show you what this does. By default, basically what happens is when you have an ability that requires you to place it in a specific location, you're going to get this circle like this. And where you move your mouse or your controller, basically move a direction, it's going to drop that item to wherever you have it placed, and then you're going to tap again to apply that ability. Regardless of where it is, it's always going to place it wherever you're going to place it. You can actually change this in your gameplay and you can set it for quick cast ground abilities on. And what this does is wherever you're targeting, it's going to automatically place it without having to double tap. My recommendation when it comes to this is a good thing to try to strive to get to, because it does allow you to quickly cast a specific ability, whether it's a synergy, whether it's a heal, anything like that. But it does take a little bit of practice to figure out the range and where your reticle is going to put it. Because if you miss, well, then, you have to wait for the duration or try to recast it, which costs you more of your resources. So to start off with, it's a good thing, in my opinion, to have this set as either automatic or off until you get an idea of where you need to aim before you place your ability. Once you get that kind of down, you're used to it, then you can switch over to having it on. And did I switch the wrong thing? I probably switched the wrong thing. I did. I turned on gamepad mode. I'll go over that in a minute. So I have this on at this point, because then you can, once you get the hang of it, you can place it a little bit more where you want it. So that's quick cast ground ability. The next one that people actually don't really know about is ESO on PC. This is on console. Does allow the use of a gamepad, whether it's an Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, any approved controller that's supported by ESO can actually be used if you don't want to use keyboard and mouse. So if you're coming over from PlayStation, or you don't like to use a keyboard, you can set this up to be a full use of a controller. So that's something that I've been told that people don't know. So I thought I'd go over that and just let you know that you can use a Xbox controller or whatever. I have an Xbox controller that I use from time to time when I'm making my videos, and it works out great. So that's gameplay. Next, I'm going to move into camera. So for camera mode, there are a few things. I'm not going to go over all of them, because some of them are, they're not really overly important unless you want to create additional effects for yourself, like screen shake, assassination camera. Actually, assassination camera I'll go over, because if you're like a vampire or part of the Dark Brotherhood, and you have an assassination ability, this is going to do a cinematic kill. If that's something that you don't want to do, you can always turn this off, and it won't do that cinematic camera anymore. Rotation speed for first person and third person, you can actually set these differently. So if you're in first person mode, you can actually change your field of view, head bobs, rotation speed. I turn head bob. I have my head bob off because this is the tune. If you've seen my Tamriel Travels videos, this is the tune that I use. And when I'm running around in first person, I don't want the massive head bob, because it will basically look like this when I'm running. And you can kind of see how it's bouncing up and down a little bit. So I actually turn that off. I bring that all the way down to 0, so that it's a much smoother movement in first person. So if you like to run around in first person, but you don't like the head bob, you can always turn that off. Your field of view is basically how, sorry, I'm in first person. I want to be in third person here. Third person, or field of view, you can change to create a separate, your own version of field of view that you want. Your horizontal position allows you to either center it if you want to, or you can move your tune off to the side a little bit if you want kind of a side cinematic, so you can see in front of you a little bit better. You can change all of these in the camera to make it the way that you like most. Siege weaponry. This is a PvP thing when you use siege weaponry, and you can either set for free mode, which means you can target away from the siege weaponry, so you're not tied into it, or you can constrain it, which forces you to target off of the weaponry itself. So that's camera. I'm gonna go into interface next. So for the interface, there's a couple things here that people might not know about. For the display name, you can actually set the display name differently if you want to. By default, it's preferred character name, which means that it's going to show the actual players, the character's name that they're on, as opposed to their actual account name. Let me go to an area and I will show you what I mean. All right, so as I'm standing around out here, you can see that everybody's name is a specific character. So you got Bjorn here, Kazma, Carlos, etc. So these are character names. You can actually change these, which is not a bad thing in a group setting, so you know who's who. You can go to prefer user ID, and then it changes everybody's name to their actual account. So regardless of what character they're on, it'll always show the same name above their head, so you know who's who. So somebody that has 10 characters that plays different ones all the time, you're not sure what their character names are, you can always switch it over to their account name, so you always know who they are. Everything else is kind of straightforward. Compass quest givers, you can choose where you see specific quest trackers. If you want to see them above people's heads, if you want to see them on the compass, like you can see above, you can see all the quests that I have on the compass, as well as the quest tracker that's right on top there. Shows where I need to go next. And then you can always turn on your frame rate so you can see how much FPS you have, what your latency ping is, etc., etc. So that's pretty much that. Nameplates. You can kind of customize this the way you want, which is why I'm going to go over this. You can actually turn nameplates off completely if you want to, if you don't want to see people's names. They're all gone here because I turned them off. This is what I do when I make my other videos and I don't want any nameplates or health bars above me. I can turn health bars off as well. Kind of creates more of an immersion that you don't know who's who, and it creates some nice cinematic effects. But you can customize these as well to whose nameplates you want to show. If you want to show everybody's, if you want to show only friendly NPCs, friendly players, only if you're targeted, so you can show how much of the nameplates and which nameplates you want to see and when. And that's the same thing with health bars. You can turn them off completely. You can have them on only when targeted. You can have them on always. So it allows you to customize so that your UI doesn't get overly busy if you're in an area that has a lot of people, say a world boss or a trial, and you want to make sure that you keep your visuals as clear as possible. The indicators for the glow thickness. So basically what this is when you target over a specific character, say a guard or a general mob, it's going to have a specific glow color above their head. I'm sorry, not above their head, around their body, that shows what their alliance is. So if you don't have nameplates up or anything like that, you can still get an idea of who they are. So let me go find one here real quick. Let's see. Let me find a guard. Usually everywhere. Oh, there you go. There's a general citizen, and you see when I hover over them, they have a white glow around them. So that shows that they are, there you go. There's a person guard. So, they're on my team, but they are attackable. So be careful. So with that, you can create a higher glow thickness and intensity. You can crank those all the way up if you want to. When you hover over them, see how it's even brighter. You can actually also turn them off completely if you want to. So you can Turn off target glow, and you can't see anything over their head. Again, good things to do for cinematography. Not necessarily something that I would recommend doing in general, but I'm not going to tell you what to do, what not to do. Just give my own recommendations. Social is pretty straightforward. It changes the text size in your text chat. You can see down in the bottom left, gets it larger and smaller. You can change the transparency of the box behind you. So if it's harder to see like that, because you're kind of white on white on the background, you can crank that up a little bit and it makes it a little bit easier to read. Leaderboard notifications. I wanted to mention this because there are times, especially if you have a lot of friends that do some hard mode veteran content, or if you're in a guild that does that, you're going to get some notifications in your notification bar that says X player has completed X encounter veteran with a score of whatever. If that's something you don't want to see, you can turn that off, and you won't get those notifications anymore. All right, combat. This is where people have come to me and said, I didn't know you could do that. So when you change all these to kind of default of where they would be. So when you first start the game, you're going to notice that you don't have, and I apologize, I have my add-ons running because I wanted to show something with that. But typically you won't see your skill bars underneath you unless you get into combat. So what people don't realize necessarily is you can turn those on so that they're always available to you, regardless of if you're in combat or not. So this is something nice to have. If you want to have a clean screen and you want to have them turned off unless you're in combat, then by all means go for it. I like to see what I have going at the time. So I have mine as always showing so that you see below. And then a couple other things in this. Attribute bars, that's going to be your health, stamina, and magicka. I have mine to always show. Resource numbers, number and percent, so that I can see the amount of health I have, the amount of magicka I have, the amount of stamina I have, and what percentage I have available. So when I hit a skill, it'll drop down to 99%. Or there you go. You see it dropping down. So I know exactly how much percentage I have left. One new addition is the ability bar timers. This actually came out just with Blackwood. This used to be built in as you had to have an add-on to do this. Now they've integrated it into the game. So you'll see when I fire off a skill, my number one skill there, you see it has a duration of 5 seconds. 6 seconds. Sorry. Same thing there. And when you switch bars, you can see the back bars, and you have to set those in your combat tab. You have to turn these on. It's a nice thing to have if you want to keep track of your resources, which skills you have going, what their duration left is, and everything like that. Ultimate number. This one's good to have on because different ultimates, if you don't know what an ultimate is, it's a specialized skill right here that you have ultimate abilities, and some of them have some different timers as to when they are available to use. So if you have your ultimate number on, you'll see in the bottom right corner of the ultimate, you'll see mine says 476. When you hit the usable number, it'll tell you, you'll be able to keep track of how high your ultimate is in charging so that you know when to use it. So that's something you can do by having that on. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Outgoing damage, outgoing healing. These are basically your resource numbers. You can see to the right of my character, those heals going off. That is what that does. It allows you to see what your numbers are by turning those on. and you can have as many of them on or off as you want. Buffs and debuffs. These are if you eat food, if you have an XP tome going, anything like that. I have them set to automatic, so they're only up when I'm in combat. But if you hit always show, you'll see above my, actually above my skill bar, you'll see these 3 buffs right here. That is what happens when you turn those on. The only other one I will go over, I'm not going to go over add-ons. Actually, I'll go over a little bit. So if you have specific add-ons that you are going to see extra settings tabs here. So like for me, Bandits UI, and then I have one for add-ons, and these are the add-ons that I use. And these allow you to customize your add-ons as you need. So you might not see these if you don't use add-ons. If you do, you'll see some extra ones, and that just gives you the ability to customize them in the same way you'd customize anything else. I'll go over controls briefly because there are certain abilities or certain controls that aren't set to bound initially that you might want to look into binding. You might not know that they're automatically not bound, so you might not even know they exist. For instance, toggle walk run. This is typically unbound by default, but you can walk in this game. And if you set it and keybind it, which, there you go. This allows me to walk and run as I wish. I know it sounds kind of basic, but just wanting you guys to know that that's there. You can set these for controller. You can set these for keyboard, mice. You can set them for however you want. You can change which ones you want to use. So, you know, if you don't want to use X as your synergy, you want to use it as something different, you can, and so on and so forth. For instance, my ultimate, I actually have set to number 7. By default, it is R. Changed it away from that because I tend to fat finger and hit R too many times and turn into a werewolf when I don't want to, or use my synergy basically, or my ultimate when I don't want to. So I changed that. The biggest reason I wanted to go over with this is if you do have add-ons, you actually have the ability to put keybinds to those add-ons. So for instance, raid notifier, combat metrics, minimap, and its UI. These will be automatically added into your controls and key bindings if they have keybinds available. I just wanted to let you guys know that just in case you didn't know. And that is pretty much it. If you think I missed anything, if you have any additional questions, just feel free to comment below, or you can hit me up on my live stream at twitch.tv/yicky, and you can let me know. We can talk about it more if you have questions. If you like this content and my other content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. And of course, follow my other social medias, like I just mentioned, my live stream, twitch.tv/yicky, and hit me up on Twitter. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this and it was informative, and I will see you on the next video.